The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Thick, cream-colored, no return address, just my name, Nora Bishop, written in elegant cursive that looked like it belonged to another century. The paper smelled like lavender and dust, like someone had been waiting to send it for a very long time. Inside, a single page, a lawyer's letterhead, and one sentence that changed everything. You have inherited Penthouse A at the Carlisle, along with its contents from your grandmother, Eleanor Voss. I didn't have a grandmother named Eleanor Voss. I had a mother who worked double shifts at the hospital, a father who died when I was 12, leaving me his tools and his quiet hands and his gift for fixing broken things, a small apartment above my clock repair shop, where the stairs creaked and the radiator hissed all winter. I didn't have secret grandmothers or penthouses or letters that smelled like lavender. I called the lawyer. I was certain it was a mistake. It wasn't. The Carlisle stood on the corner of Maple and Grand, in the oldest part of the city. I had walked past it 100 times without really seeing it. Art Deco, soaring lines, bronze and glass and history pressed into every brick. A building that knew its own worth and didn't need to announce it. The doorman knew my name. Miss Bishop, welcome home. Home? I almost laughed. The elevator was paneled in dark walnut. The buttons were brass. When the doors opened on the top floor, I stepped out into a foyer that made my breath catch. Herringbone oak floors, coffered ceilings with hand-painted beams, a chandelier that looked like frozen music. I walked through the penthouse like a sleepwalker. The living room had windows on 3 sides. The city sprawled below, river on one side, rooftops on the other, the old clock tower rising above everything. The light was golden and endless. The kitchen had an antique AGA stove in cream enamel, a breakfast nook with built-in banquette seating upholstered in velvet the color of moss. Someone had left a vase of fresh flowers on the counter, peonies, deep pink, almost red. The library was my favorite, floor-to-ceiling shelves, empty except for one, a window seat overlooking the courtyard below, and everywhere, small details that told me Eleanor had been a clockmaker. A gear-shaped door knocker on the powder room, clock faces inlaid in the fireplace tile, a small brass pendulum hanging from the light fixture in the hallway, perfectly still, like it was waiting for someone to set it in motion. The bedroom had a terrace, wraparound, iron railing. I stood there for a long time watching the sun set over the river, trying to understand why a woman I had never met had left all of this to me. I didn't have an answer, but I had a feeling I was about to find one.
I've found it on the 3rd day. I was still exploring, still discovering. Every morning I woke up in a bed that wasn't mine, in a room that felt like a dream, and every morning I half expected it to disappear. The study was tucked behind the library, small, intimate, a room meant for one person, late at night with a fire and a book. The walls were lined with built-in shelves, all empty, except one. On the bottom shelf, pushed to the back, almost hidden in the shadows, was a box. Wooden, walnut, no lock, no hinges I could see, just a smooth surface and a faint seam where the lid met the base. I knew boxes like this. My father had made them. Hidden compartments, secret springs, the kind of craftsmanship that didn't announce itself. You had to know where to press. I pressed. The lid opened. Inside was a clock. Not a grandfather clock or a mantel clock or any kind of clock I had ever seen. Smaller, stranger. The case was walnut, polished to a deep glow, inlaid with brass vines that curled around the edges like they were still growing. The face had no numbers, no hands, just a pale circle of light, dim as a dying ember, curved like a crescent moon. I turned it over, no maker's mark, no inscription, nothing. But I knew clocks. I had grown up with my father's hands showing me gears and springs and the secret language of timepieces. I could feel the weight of this one, the balance, the precision. This clock was old, centuries old, and something about it was alive. I set it on the mantel in the living room. I told myself it was just a curiosity, a beautiful object from a woman I would never know. But that night, I woke at 3 a.m. The room was dark, the city was quiet, and the clock was glowing. Not the dim ember from before, something brighter. The crescent had grown, just a fraction, just enough to notice. I sat up in bed. I stared at it until dawn. I didn't sleep again. The knock came 4 days later. I was in the sunroom, drinking coffee, watching the morning light hit the clock. It was glowing again, brighter than yesterday. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was making it change. I opened the door. He was tall, dark hair that curled slightly at the collar, eyes the color of rain on slate. He wore a gray sweater that probably cost more than my first car, and his jaw was tight, like a man who had learned not to show what he was feeling. "You're Nora," he said. Not a question. "Who's asking?" He didn't smile, but something in his eyes shifted. Recognition? Confusion? I couldn't tell. Adrian Cross, Penthouse B, across the courtyard. I knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Adrian Cross was a ghost who owned half the city. Financier, billionaire, recluse. The tabloids called him the Iceman because no one ever saw him smile. "I didn't know anyone lived across the courtyard," I said. "Then of course you don't." "Then why are you at my door?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket. When he opened his hand, I saw it. A clock, identical to mine. The same walnut case, the same brass vines, the same pale crescent of light, dim and waiting. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. "My grandmother gave it to me before she died." He looked past me, into the penthouse. His eyes found my clock on the sunroom mantel. "She told me the other one would find me. I thought she was losing her mind." He looked back at me. "I didn't think you'd be real." I should have closed the door. I should have called the lawyer. I should have done anything except invite a strange billionaire into my new home. I invited him in. He walked to the sunroom. He stood in front of the windows, his back to me, looking at my clock. Then he held his next to it. They were identical. Same size, same weight, same strange face. 2 identical clocks, 2 different people. Surely there should be an explanation to that. We met in the courtyard the next day. Neither of us planned it. I was walking to the farmer's market. He was standing by the broken fountain, hands in his pockets, staring at the wisteria vine like it held the secrets of the universe. "You don't seem like a wisteria guy," I said. He didn't smile, but his shoulders relaxed. Just a fraction. "I'm not. I've just never stood here before." 5 years and you've never been in your own courtyard? "I told you, I keep to myself." I sat on the iron bench. After a moment, he sat beside me. Not close, a respectable distance. The kind of distance 2 strangers keep. "Why did you inherit the penthouse?" he asked. "I don't know. I never met Eleanor." "Neither did I, but my grandmother told me about her. She said Eleanor was the only person who ever made her feel seen." I looked at him. His profile was sharp in the morning light. Handsome, yes, but tired, like he hadn't slept in years. "What else did your grandmother tell you?" He was quiet for a long time. The fountain trickled behind us, broken but still trying. "She told me the clocks were made for 2 people who were meant to find each other." He turned to look at me. "She told me I would know them when I saw them, because the clocks would glow." "And do they?" He glanced toward our windows. His building, mine. The sun was hitting both sunrooms, making the glass flash gold. "Yours is brighter than mine," he said. "Mine has always been brighter." "No." His voice was soft. "It started glowing when you arrived. It got brighter when I knocked on your door, and right now," he paused, "it's the brightest it's ever been." I looked at my window. I couldn't see the clock from here, but I believed him. "Why?" I asked. He shook his head. "I don't know, but I think we'll find out soon."
That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Adrian, about the way he said, "I didn't think you'd be real," about the way he looked at my building like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. At 2 a.m., I got up. I walked to the sunroom. The clock was glowing. Not the dim crescent from before, not the faint flicker. Something else, something brighter. The crescent had grown, wider, warmer, like the moon 2 nights before full. I touched the glass. It was warm. I thought about the afternoon, the courtyard, the way we had sat on the iron bench, not talking, not uncomfortable, just together. The clock had felt it too. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. Adrian stood in the hallway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I didn't know how you take it," he said, "so I got one black and one with oat milk. Statistically, one of them should be right." I stared at him. "You bought 2 coffees because you didn't know my order?" "I bought 2 coffees because I wanted an excuse to knock on your door." I took the oat milk. It was perfect. "Lucky guess," he said. I didn't tell him it was my actual order. I just smiled. And behind me in the sunroom, the clock glowed a little brighter. The workshop was in the basement. We found it together. Adrian had a key to every door in the Carlisle. He owned the building after all. We searched for hours, past the boiler room, past the old laundry, past a row of storage lockers that hadn't been opened in decades. And then we found a door that didn't have a lock. It had a clock face, carved into the wood, old, faded, but unmistakable. Adrian pushed it open. The room was frozen in time. Workbenches covered in tools, shelves lined with clock parts, drawers labeled in handwriting I recognized. My father had the same handwriting. No, not my father. Eleanor. I walked to the nearest workbench. A half-finished clock sat under a layer of dust. Beside it, a notebook. I opened it. E.V. Clockworks, 1923. "She was a clockmaker," I whispered. Adrian stood behind me, close enough that I could feel his warmth. He didn't speak. He just let me absorb what I was seeing. I opened the notebook, page after page of diagrams, notes, sketches, and then a letter, tucked between the pages. Yellowed, fragile, the ink was faded but still legible. "My dearest Margaret, they are sending me away. I don't know when I'll return, but I have made something for you. 2 clocks, one for you, one for me. They will wait. They will know. When our grandchildren find each other, the clocks will glow. Wait for me. Yours, always, Eleanor." I read it twice, then again. Adrian was reading over my shoulder. His breath caught. "My grandmother's name was Margaret," he said. We looked at each other. The room felt smaller. The air felt thicker. Eleanor Voss and Margaret Cross, lovers separated by war, by distance, by time. They never saw each other again, but they built the clocks before Eleanor left, clocks that would wait for their bloodlines to finish what they started, clocks that had found us. "She knew," I said, my voice cracked. "Eleanor knew we would. Then let's do it. Let's find out what she wanted us to know. Since the clock likes it when we get along, let's try to actually get along and see what happens to the clock." Saturday morning, I knocked on his door at 8 a.m. He opened it looking like he hadn't slept, hair disheveled, sweater inside out. "It's too early," he said. "It's the farmer's market. It closes at noon. I don't do farmer's markets. You do now. Get dressed and fix your sweater." He looked down, realized it was inside out, didn't fix it. "I'm not changing. Suit yourself." The market was chaos.
Tents and tables and people everywhere, the smell of fresh bread and flowers and something frying in a pan that I desperately wanted to eat. Adrian walked beside me like a man entering a foreign country, eyes wide, hands in his pockets, carefully not touching anything. "You've never been to a farmer's market," I said. "I've been to markets. Stock markets don't count." He didn't argue. I bought a bag of apples. He stood behind me, looking confused. "You're supposed to hold the bag," I said. "Why?" "Because I can't carry everything." He took the bag, held it away from his body like it might explode. "You're holding it like it's evidence. It's produce. I don't know what to do with produce." I laughed, actually laughed, loud enough that people turned to look. Adrian stared at me. His expression shifted, softened. "What?" I asked. "Nothing." He looked away, but I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. "You have a loud laugh." "Thank you?" It wasn't an insult. He shifted the bag of apples to his other hand, held it closer to his body, like he was learning. "I'll get the next bag," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "You will?" "I'm a fast learner."
The cinema was his idea. "You like black and white movies," he said. It wasn't a question. "How do you know that?" "Your library. The books on the window seat. Film history. Silent era. You left one open." I stared at him. "You've been looking at my books through the window?" "I've been looking at your window. The books are incidental." I should have been creeped out. I wasn't. "There's a revival cinema on Grant. They're playing Casablanca tonight." "I've never seen it." "Everyone's seen Casablanca." "I'm not everyone." The theater was small. Red velvet seats, gold curtains. The kind of place that smelled like popcorn and nostalgia. Adrian sat beside me, shoulders tense, hands on his knees. "Relax," I whispered. "It's just a movie." "I don't relax." I noticed. The lights dimmed, the curtains parted, the screen flickered to life. Halfway through, I felt his shoulder relax against mine. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. Near the end, the part where Bogart says, "Here's looking at you, kid," I felt something on my hand, his pinky, barely touching mine. I didn't move. Neither did he. I fell asleep on his shoulder during the credits. When I woke, the theater was empty, the lights were on, and Adrian hadn't moved. "You could have woken me," I said. "You looked peaceful." I sat up, rubbed my eyes. How long was I out? 20 minutes. The staff already cleaned up. Did they say anything? The teenage boy winked at me. I laughed. What did he do? I glared at him. He stopped. I stood up, stretched. He stood beside me. "Same time next week?" he asked. "There's a Hitchcock marathon." "I've never seen Hitchcock either." "I know. You're not everyone." He smiled. A real smile. The first one I had seen. It changed his whole face. We started finding reasons to be together. Morning coffee became a ritual. He would appear at my door with 2 cups, oat milk for me, black for him. We would sit in my sunroom, watching the clock glow a little brighter every day. Afternoon walks became routine. Through the courtyard, down to the river, past the old clock tower that chimed every hour. He told me about his parents, cold, distant, more interested in his stock portfolio than his happiness. I told him about my father, the way his hands moved when he fixed a clock, the way he taught me to listen to gears, the way he died before I could tell him I loved him. "We're both orphans," Adrian said one evening. We were sitting on the iron bench by the broken fountain. The wisteria was starting to bloom. "Found family," I corrected. He looked at me. The lanterns had come on. The light was golden on his face. "I've never had that," he said. "Found family." "Neither have I." He reached out. His hand hovered near mine, not touching. "Maybe we could have it together." I didn't answer. I turned my hand over, palm up. He took it. The fountain behind us made a sound, not the broken trickle,
something else, a gurgle, a splash. We both turned. Water was coming out of the fountain. Not much, a small stream, but it was flowing. "That hasn't worked in years," Adrian said. I looked at our hands, then at the fountain, then at the clocks in our windows, glowing brighter than I had ever seen. "I don't think it's a coincidence," I said. He squeezed my hand. "Neither do I." I don't remember what started it. Something small. Something stupid. A misunderstanding about the letters, about the workshop, about who was more invested in solving the mystery. But it wasn't about the letters. It was about fear. I was afraid of needing him. He was afraid of being needed. "You don't understand," he said. We were in his penthouse, his cold, empty penthouse with nothing on the walls and nothing on the shelves and nothing on the mantel except his clock, which was dimmer than it had been in days. "Then explain it to me," I said. "Everything in my life has a price. Everyone wants something from me. My parents wanted my obedience. My partners wanted my money. My employees want my approval. No one just wants me. I want you." The words came out before I could stop them. He stared at me. His jaw was tight. His eyes were bright. "You don't even know me. I know you drink your coffee black. I know you've never seen Casablanca. I know you bought 2 cups of coffee because you didn't know my order and you wanted an excuse to knock on my door. I know you held a bag of apples like it was a hostage. I know you sat in a dark theater for 20 minutes after the movie ended because you didn't want to wake me up." I stepped closer. "I know your clock glows when we're with me, and I know mine does too." He looked away. His hands were shaking. "That's not enough," he said. "Then what is?" "I don't know." His voice cracked. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to let someone in. Every time I try, I ruin it. I push them away. I protect myself." "So don't protect yourself." "I don't know how not to." I reached for his hand. He pulled away. "Give me time," he said. "How much time?" "The clocks have 30 days. Give me until then." I nodded. I walked to the door. "Nora." I turned. He was standing in the middle of his empty penthouse, surrounded by nothing, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. "I'm sorry," he said. I didn't answer. I closed the door behind me. 3 days passed. I didn't see him. I didn't hear from him. His penthouse across the courtyard was dark. The clock in my sunroom grew dimmer every day. I watched it fade, the crescent shrinking, the light dying. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just an object, wood and gears and glass. But I knew that wasn't true. The clock was us, the distance between us, the words we couldn't take back. On the second day, I went to the workshop. I read Eleanor's letters again. She had written about waiting, about hoping, about the agony of not knowing if the person you loved was thinking of you. I understood now. On the third day, I stood at my window. His window was dark, but I knew he was there. I could feel him. I picked up my phone. I typed a message, deleted it, typed it again. "The clock is almost dark." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. I know. I waited. "I'm sorry," he wrote. I didn't know if he was apologizing for the fight or for the silence. Maybe both. "Meet me in the courtyard. Tomorrow. Sunrise." He didn't answer, but the clock flickered, just once, a small pulse of light. he was going to come.
The courtyard was gray at dawn. The fountain was silent. The wisteria was wet with dew. The lanterns had burned out hours ago. I sat on the iron bench. I waited. He came, walking slow, hands in his pockets, his hair unwashed, his sweater wrinkled. He looked like a man who hadn't slept or eaten or stopped thinking. I looked the same. He stopped in front of me, didn't sit, just stood there, looking down at his feet. "I don't know how to fix this," he said. His voice was raw. "Neither do I." He looked at my shoes. My laces were undone. I hadn't noticed. He knelt, right there, on the cobblestone path, in front of the broken fountain, in the gray dawn light. He knelt. He took my laces. He tied them, slowly, carefully, his fingers trembling. When he finished, he didn't stand. He stayed there, kneeling at my feet, his head bowed. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I'm sorry I pushed you away. I'm sorry I made you feel like you wanted something from me. I'm sorry I'm so broken that I don't know how to let someone in." "You're not broken," I said. "I feel broken." "Then let me help you feel whole." He looked up. His gray eyes were wet. "Why?" he whispered. "Why would you want that?" I reached out. I touched his face. My fingers traced his jaw. "Because when I'm with you, the clock glows, and I think that means something." He closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his cheek. I didn't wipe it away. I let him feel it. And behind us, in our windows, the clocks flooded with light. Not dim, not fading, full, bright, like someone had turned on the sun. We stayed on the cobblestones until the sun rose. He talked first. "My grandmother was the only person who ever saw me," he said. "Not the money, not the name, just me. When she died, I thought I would never feel that again." He looked at our hands. His fingers were interlaced with mine. "Then you moved in, and the clock started glowing, and I didn't know what to do, because you weren't supposed to be real. You weren't supposed to look at me like I was just a man, not a billionaire, not a target, just Adrian." "I'm not going to ask you for anything," I said. "I'm not going to take anything from you. I'm just going to be here, if you let me." "Why?" I smiled. "Because my father taught me that some things are worth fixing, even when they seem broken, especially when they seem broken." He laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "Neither do I, but we have time." I gestured toward our windows. The clocks were blazing, full crescents, brighter than the rising sun. "The clocks seem to think we're doing something right." He looked at them, then at me. "Yeah," he said. "Maybe they do." The 30th day arrived. I woke to sunlight and the sound of birds. No Adrian in my kitchen, no coffee waiting, just the quiet hum of the penthouse and the soft ticking of the clock. I walked to the sunroom. The clocks were glowing, not dim, not fading, full, bright, warm. But the crescents were gone. In their place, a full circle, a complete face. No countdown, no shrinking light, just a steady golden glow. I touched mine. The glass was warm. Adrian knocked at noon. He was holding 2 cups of coffee, oat milk for me, black for him. He was also holding a paper bag from the bakery down the street. "I come bearing pastries," he said, "and an apology for the last 3 days." I already apologized. On your knees, on cobblestones. That was an apology for the fight.
This is an apology for being emotionally constipated for 35 years. I laughed. That's a very specific apology. I've had a lot of time to think about it. I stepped aside, let him in. We sat in the sunroom, the clocks between us, the pastries between us, the coffee between us. He was different today, lighter, like something had unclenched in his chest. I talked to someone, he said. Someone? A therapist, he said, it like he was admitting a crime. I called her yesterday, after the fountain. I stared at him. You called a therapist? I called a therapist. He picked at his croissant. She said I have abandonment issues. You think? She also said I have a fear of intimacy disguised as self-protection. That sounds expensive. It was. She's very good. I laughed. He smiled. A real smile, not the guarded one, not the polite one, the one that made him look like a different person. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you knelt on cobblestones with me. Because you said I wasn't broken. Because you looked at me like I was worth looking at. He set down his croissant. I don't want to mess this up. Whatever this is. Whatever this is, I repeated. We haven't named it. Does it need a name? He thought about it. No, I don't think it does. We spent the afternoon in the courtyard. The fountain was still broken, but the wisteria was blooming. The lanterns were off, the sun was warm. Adrian sat on the iron bench. I sat on the cobblestones, my back against his knees. I've never done this before, he said. Sat on a bench? Been like this, with someone. Relaxed. You're relaxing? My shoulders aren't up by my ears. That's progress. I reached up. I didn't look, I just reached. My hand found his. He held it. The clocks are full circles now, I said. I noticed. Do you know what that means? No, but I don't think it means the end. What do you think it means? He was quiet for a moment. His thumb traced circles on my hand. I think it means we're supposed to keep going, not because of the clocks, because of us. I turned around, knelt facing him. His knees bracketed my shoulders. Adrian Cross. Yes, I'm going to make sure you never feel alone again. His breath caught. I'm going to drag you to farmers' markets until you know how to hold produce. I'm going to make you watch every black and white movie ever made. I'm going to sit in this courtyard with you until the fountain works again. And I'm going to bring down every single wall you've built, one brick at a time. He stared at me. His eyes were bright. That sounds exhausting. It will be. You're going to dismantle me, brick by brick. He laughed, a real laugh, loud and surprised and beautiful. Okay, he said. Okay? Okay, start dismantling. I grinned. First brick. You're a gentle man. Admit it. I'm not gentle. You tied my shoes, on cobblestones, at dawn. That was one time. You bought me oat milk coffee for 3 weeks before you knew my order. That was strategic. You held a bag of apples like it was a hostage. That's just good produce safety. I laughed. You're gentle, Adrian. It's not a weakness. He looked at me for a long time. The wisteria moved in the wind. The fountain trickled, still broken, still trying. Maybe, he said, finally. Maybe I am. The clocks in our windows caught the afternoon light, glowing steady, full circles, no longer counting down.
The fountain works now. Adrian fixed it himself. I watched from the iron bench, drinking coffee, offering unhelpful suggestions. Have you tried hitting it? That's not how fountains work. Have you tried turning it off and on again? That's not how fountains work either. He got it working eventually. Water spills over the edge now, soft and constant, and the lanterns reflect on the surface at night. We sit there every evening. One afternoon, I was in his penthouse, his cold, empty penthouse that was slowly becoming less cold. He had added a rug, a plant, a photograph of his grandmother on the mantel. "You need more color," I said. "He has color. You have gray and more gray. I have a plant. It's green. That's one plant." He sighed. "What do you suggest?" I walked to his bookshelf, empty except for one shelf. I pulled down a book, flipped through it. "You need things that make you happy," I said. "What made you happy as a kid?" He thought about it. "My grandmother's workshop. She had a clock. I used to take it apart and put it back together." I looked at him. "You took apart clocks?" I was curious. I grinned. "Adrian Cross, billionaire, financier, secret clock enthusiast?" "It's not a secret, I just never told anyone." "Well, now I know." I walked to his wrist. His watch was expensive, very expensive, the kind of watch that had its own passport. "Can I take this apart?" He stared at me. "Do you know what this is?" "I know. It costs more than your penthouse." "I know." "You want to dismantle it?" "I want to see how it works." He looked at his watch, then at me, then at his watch again. "Fine." "Really?" "Really, but you have to put it back together." "I will." He took off his watch, handed it to me. His hand was shaking slightly. I sat on his couch. I took out my tools. I carry them everywhere. Adrian sat beside me, close, watching. "You're not going to hover, are you?" "I'm absolutely going to hover." I opened the back of the watch. The gears were beautiful, tiny, precise, perfect. "Wow," I breathed. That's what I said when I was 12. I looked at him. "You really did take apart clocks." "I really did." "Why did you stop?" He was quiet for a moment. "My father said it was a waste of time. He said I should focus on something that made money." "And you listened to him?" "I was 14. I didn't know better." I set down the watch. I took his hand. "It's not too late," I said, "to take apart clocks." He looked at our hands, then at me again. "You're taking apart my watch right now." "I'm taking apart your watch. And I'm taking apart your walls. Same thing, really." He laughed. "You're relentless." "Brick by brick, Adrian." I put the watch back together. It took 2 hours. He watched the whole time. When I finished, I held it up. The gears were moving. The second hand was ticking. "It works," I said. "You sound surprised." "I'm not surprised. I'm good at this." He took the watch, put it on, looked at it. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the money, not the name, just me." "That's not going to change," I said. "Ever." "The fountain courtyard works. The wisteria blooms every spring. The lanterns come on at dusk. And every evening we sit on the iron bench. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we don't. Sometimes he holds my hand, sometimes I rest my head on his shoulder. The clocks don't count down anymore, they just keep time. Together, not because of fate, not because of Eleanor or Margaret or any of the ghosts who came before us, because he knelt on cobblestones to tie my shoes, because I took apart his watch and put it back together, because he bought oat milk coffee for 3 weeks before he knew my order, because we chose each other, brick by brick.